Hi everyone, my name is Matthew Moser. Today I'm going to be showing you how the system diagram works within the Secure tool. This is going to be really important if you're looking to create your item definition for your Tara project in a visual manner. Go over a couple tips and tricks to help you optimize your workflow through this, as well as just explain some of the basic options that you have and the functionality of the diagram itself. Bring you on over to the tool. So here we can see the project that I'm working on, and we can see I have my item definition for this project open. Now, presented already, I have a couple options here. I can zoom out of the project, zoom in, fit it to my view. If I have things moved around and I want to just reset the layout to make it look as nice as I possibly can, I can go ahead and reset it as such. I'm currently having the project show data flows. So those are these arrows that are pointed here. And these work when I'm looking to demonstrate how data will flow from one particular component to another, as well as even mark what is being transferred from a component to another. Now, it's important to know that data flows and channels, while similar, are not the exact same concept. So what I'll show here is we have our ECU and we have our HUD. We have two data flows between these two. That means that the ECU will talk to the HUD and will explicitly share information in that direction, and the HUD will share information from the HUD to the ECU. Now when I flip this to go over to channels instead, we can see that the HUD and ECU, that's only been limited down to a single channel. That's just saying that there is a connection between the two, and we have the HUD and the ECU as an endpoint, but it's not descriptive about the direction in which the data is flowing, and that's the key difference between data flows and channels. You can also see here that when I change from data flows to channels, this section on the right here has a bit of a different look to it now. I can add data flows, or I can go ahead and add channels to components themselves, and then add endpoints from channel 3 to over here, component 1. So now I have a flow that is channel 3 that goes from component 2 to component 1. I can reset the layout, and it looks like that. So if you wanted to make channels, if that's how you better visualize the Tara process, you can do so via this tab up here. Or if you prefer the data flow route, you could do so via this. Now you'll notice that the data flows haven't actually shown up for the components up here, whereas there's a channel here. And that's just because there isn't any, they need directionality to be present. So it's really important to know that that difference between the two, because it is a significant difference in terms of how you should consider what's going into your Tara project. Data flows are when you have a much more specific idea of the communication, whereas channels are just, there is some sort of communication. How that's actually established is maybe a little bit unknown, and in terms of the direction and what's being shared over that channel, that might be unknown. Otherwise, you would end up using the data flow. Diving into our diagram options here, we can see that we have a name for our diagram. In this case, it's system diagram. We can decide what our root component is. In this case, it's system. Looking at our component chunk for our item definition, system is always going to be the default layer for a project. So generally, you're going to want to keep it at system, but if you are playing around with your model and you want to have something that you've created be the root, you can go ahead and do so through here. Hierarchy levels shows us how deep into a project that we are currently looking. As we can see right now, we're looking at a car with a power steering, ECU, and a HUD, but we can see that power steering and the HUD has two subcomponents present within it. So if we don't change the hierarchy levels, we'll have to click into the HUD to see what's happening here. And now we're looking at just what's in the HUD, and we can even see our root component here has changed to CMP5, which is that HUD element. We could go over here and CMP5, the HUD. So this is just us looking into the HUD and seeing what's present within here. When we want to go back up into the project, we'll just select go up, and we'll do so until we get back to our root being system, and that's our topmost layer of the project. If, for instance, we wanted to go ahead and change the hierarchy levels, which this is just how deep into a project we can see, we'll go ahead and either add a plus or a minus. Going to 1 is going to show you just one layer at a time, whereas the more hierarchy levels you have, the more into the model you'll be able to see without having to actually double click a particular component to see subcomponents. Now, if you would like to just have everything present all the time, what you would end up doing is go to your hierarchy level, set it to infinite, reset your flow once, and now you can see everything within your model regardless of how many subcomponents you add into a system and how deeply you nest them within a particular component. These are the options that most people kind of want to go over. So that's just a very brief overview of how the system diagram functions. We will have other videos in the future going over things like the ISO 21434 catalog, method configuration, and how you could change things like terminology profiles, and even threat class and control class catalogs. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to follow the channel so you'll be notified of new uploads, and thank you and have a nice day.